On this episode of AV Week, we take a look back at ISE 2020. Last time in Amsterdam, Jeremy Caldera, Alicia Henley, Megan Dutta, Matt Scott, Kevin McLaughlin, and Zoe Mutter take a look back at the week. 4 days in Amsterdam for ISE 2020. What were the big trends? What will we take away? And what will we miss about Amsterdam? All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 443, recorded Friday, February 14th, 2019, live from ISE 2020.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Middle Atlantic, what great systems are built on, and by FSR.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. If you're not watching this, but you're listening, my voice sounds a little different because I'm using a different type of Shure mic because we are at ISE 2020. Thank you, sir. We are going to do kind of what we do at other trade shows, where we do a cavalcade of fantastic and famous guests. With me to start off, I'll call them my UK contingent, my longtime good friend, Mr. Kevin McLaughlin. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And my new friend, Zoe Mutter, who is the new editor for AV Magazine. Welcome, ma'am.
Cheers. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Well, last time, actually, both of us, all three of us saw each other, was at the AV Magazine Awards back in October. So thank you for having us over to your shindig.
Thank you for doing the commentary for us in your little green room.
In our little green, yeah. It was neat. Me and Chris Netto, hashtag AV in the AM. I think I'm contractually at this point obligated to say AV in the AM whenever I mention Chris Netto's name. Yeah, we got to come over, got to hang out with some great AV personalities over in the UK and from other places as well. You guys honored a lot of people that night, so really cool. This is our last ISE at Amsterdam. I'm somewhat hedging my bets on that for right now. I have no knowledge of that. I'm just saying, who knows, right? The RAI may expand. The ISE may decide at some point in the next 10, 20 years, to come back. So let's say for right now, this is the last time in Amsterdam for a while. Kevin, your impression of this show, what were your thoughts? What were your big takeaways?
Well, it was quieter than normal, which I liked. It had a kind of Infocom feel to it. You could walk down the aisles, you could get places fairly quickly, although that's one downside of the RAI, is the fact that it's just, difficult to traverse, and I think Barcelona is going to bring some ease of getting about and finding the stands you're looking for.
Yeah. Zoe, somebody who probably ran around as much as Kevin did.
Yes.
You guys also had the center stage to produce as well, so you had several conversations.
Yep.
What were some of your big takeaways from this week?
I'd say again it was easy to get around for us, but obviously you had various obstacles to overcome with the coronavirus and then the flight delays and cancellations from the UK. So I think even though there were some negatives, it did bring everyone together, because I saw people tweeting out, trying to get lifts across in cars from the UK. So it was only, I'd say, the exhibitors, it was down 50 Chinese exhibitors, 20 non-Chinese, but out of 1,300, that isn't really that larger number, I don't think. But yeah, it was noticeably less busy on some of the stands, but then some of the halls, like hall 1, 6 and 5, I thought there was pretty much a lot of traffic throughout the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's mention that for a second. The biggest manufacturer to pull out was LG.
Yes.
Right, that's the most significant one. But there were several others. In addition to that, some companies decided to keep their Asia Pac employees at home. So we had some reduction of attendees, or reduction of people there as well. Tuesday, the first day of the show, to me seemed a little bit lighter because of both the coronavirus concerns as well as the delays getting out of the UK. However, Wednesday, though, it picked back up again, at least from my vantage point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think Tuesday morning was really quiet, but then it just picked up, and there's been pockets where sort of log jams where you can't get past, and it seemed normal, but then other places that were very quiet. Today's been very quiet.
It's Friday.
Yeah,
exactly.
It
But
normally is.
a lot of the exhibitors I've spoken to have said that actually it's been quality over quantity, and they've had a better show. And one of the last stands I was on, One Land, said they've actually had more leads this year than they had last year. So I think it's not necessarily been a bad show for a lot of exhibitors.
I've heard that phrase, the quality over quantity, several times this week, right, including today. Because Joey and I have kind of the same, we're both kind of like mentally like at the edge here. But Friday we get to walk around a little bit more, right?
Yes, yeah.
And having longer conversations, Jay, because it is a little bit lighter show. And several times today, this morning especially, I had that quality over quantity. Is that something that you guys felt?
Yeah, definitely. I've had more in-depth conversations rather than quickly having to run around the stand, see everything you can. You can actually talk about plans down the line for things we can cover in the magazine rather than just seeing the new product. So yeah, I've definitely seen benefits from it being less busy. Yeah,
absolutely. Kevin, I'm going to turn the corner a little bit on you. The Diversity Council had a fantastic event the other day. You've been heavily involved, especially over here in Europe and obviously over in the UK. I've been pleasured to be a part of two of yours, right? Talk a little bit about the conversation that happened the other day at ISE about diversity in the AV industry.
Well, the panel we put together, I think, worked so well. I mean, the keynote speaker, June Sarpong, she's obviously a professional, but I think she really engaged the audience, and she came out with a positive. She led with a positive about our industry. The fact that we're so open to, the working class sort of group of people, and therefore we should actually celebrate the fact that we are doing something good. Obviously, we can expand on that and become a lot more diverse, as we know. But, I really like the way she found a positive to start it off. And one of my favourite people of this show was Chris Hope from the Loop Lab. I mean, what a guy, and that man can network. And everybody who met him just was affected by his energy, and what he's doing over in Boston is it's exactly the kind of thing we need to do to bring a new group, an underrepresented group of AV professionals into our industry.
Yeah, I met Chris in DC this past December. He was on a panel that I was talking. And what Chris does is real quickly, he gets underprivileged kids and teaches them the AV industry, and then gets them jobs, right? That is a very, very concise version of what he does. It's obviously much more involved, but that's what he does. He gets kids that are underserved and in a disadvantaged community and teaches them the industry. It's fantastic. One thing that I want to point out is the event that I attended with you back in October in London. One of the presentations talked about, all of the presentations talked about how these AV professionals were able to overcome adversity and different hamstrings in their life, right? Different unfortunateness that happened, and how they were able to, get help through the AV industry. One of the young women talked about the economic diversity, right, and the fact that she was so poor. I believe she was in northern UK.
That's right.
So poor that they couldn't afford to go to college. She was on track to go to college through a certain type of scholarship or grant. They canceled that program, so she was suddenly out of college, right? No way to pay for it, and was very, very in poverty. And she was able to work her way out of that through the AV industry and through different employers. It was a fantastic story, but it's a part of diversity when we talk about diversity that we don't even think about, right? At least in the States, right? In the States, we have certain demographics that we put in categories, and these people are, if you're a woman, we need to increase that diversity. A person of color in the States, increase that diversity. But economic diversity is something we don't really talk about.
No, and like I said, that's what June Sarpong pointed out was one of the positives of our industry. We're very welcoming for anybody who's working class. Having said that, it was Jenny from Shaw that they gave that presentation, and she talked about how you still need a lot of luck, and you need doors open for you, and what a beautiful story actually that carries on from what you said is after that event, she actually went back and reapplied to finish her degree course.
Awesome.
So she's set up to do that now.
Very cool. I mentioned this a couple of times. This is our last time in Amsterdam. Zoe, as you and I, as media partners and covers, we're going to start probably next Monday or Tuesday looking at Barcelona, as tiring as that sounds already. But in all seriousness, this is logistically it's a big lift. It's a heavy lift for your organization and my organization. What are you looking forward to, and what are you guys planning for the next 12
I
months?
was actually looking at our stand. And
Already?
Yeah, back at the stand
Okay.
when we came here, and it does seem much easier to get around the halls. I think there's 8 or 9 halls, whereas here there's about 15, and I think it's all down one central corridor, and then the halls are in order off of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Just it seems to be grouped more logically, I think. I don't know if you've seen the layout.
Not yet,
Because
no.
here, some of the cells just don't make sense where they're positioned at all. So I think if people know what they're interested in, they'll be able to go to a targeted area. And it was actually quite interesting that they're partnering with the Next Web for next year's show. So I think they're just trying to branch out and do something a bit different, kind of like maybe like a Tide conference for ISE.
Yeah, most likely the Tide. My understanding is they're probably going to try to look at Tide again. They've kind of put it on pause here in Amsterdam simply because they've lacked the room to put Tide on here, and they'll have the space to do that next year.
I know they're mixing up their keynote speakers a little bit, because we had Duncan Wardle deliver the opening keynote here, so they're just trying to take a different approach each year. So he's former head of innovation and creativity at Disney, and you wouldn't always expect someone like that to be on the main stage opening the show, but he was very interactive and really got the audience involved, and it was really inspiring. Although I think because of all the flight delays, I think everyone's not really thinking straight by the time he did that, so it was quite interesting doing all the interaction with people, not really knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's great. But, no, I think they're probably going to mix that up again next year and try and bring someone else completely different into the mix.
All right. Mr. McLaughlin, as someone who's hit these shores and these halls 100,000 times, what are you looking forward to the next year for Barcelona?
For Barcelona? Well, change is always good, I think, and I'm definitely going to go to IBC more often so that I can still come to Amsterdam. Yeah. But having said that, Barcelona is a wonderful city, and I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. I think some have expressed some concerns about the logistics of getting there, but I'm sure they'll work around it. Yeah. A few people I've spoken to on different stands have said this is more convenient for them in terms of shipping all their kit across. Yeah. It's the same with any new location, you've just got to get used to it.
Absolutely it is. I might not be able to travel by train anymore, and that's one thing.
Sure you can. It's just a long train ride.
Exactly. Well, for Americans, it's probably nothing at all.
It's a longer train ride. We can go up through Alaska, because we're close to Russia there. I don't know, I got nothing. All right, I'm gonna let you two get out of here. Zoe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very, very pleasure to have you. How do people get a hold of you or AV Magazine?
What, my email or?
just on social?
Social, we're at AVMag, Facebook, Audiovisual Mag, LinkedIn, we have a group and a company page. We've just redesigned the whole issue, so new logo, new fonts throughout, all new feature layout, so yeah, definitely visit our website and check out the digital editions, because we went big for ISE, it's our biggest issue, complete redesign.
Absolutely, AV Interactive on their website. Mr. McLaughlin.
Instagram, AV_Kev, and Twitter, Kev_McLaughlin.
All right, this is part 2 of our coverage of ISE, or AVWeek from ISE. With me to talk about what they found this week is a first-timer and an old friend, Alicia Henley. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good.
That's that right there is yeah. And an old hat at this ISE game, my fellow Illinoisan, Mr. Jeremy Caldera. Hi, bud.
How are you? I'm doing well.
You're doing well.
I'm not as tired, but I'm doing well.
I'm surprised at that, since I've been out with you a couple times this week. All right, so same kind of question, same kind of rep down. Jeremy, we'll start with you on this from an integrator standpoint. The first time you came, you and I had a conversation about why, right? One of those points is the fact that this has turned into one of the biggest, if not the biggest, 4 days of announcing new products, right? Not for nothing, but the last 14 days, let's say, has been filled with announcements in general, both from a merger and acquisition standpoint, as well as brand new announcements. So with that in mind, what's 1 or 2 things that you're bringing out from this week, whether it's a new announcement or just how the industry is changing in general?
Well, the industry changing in general, with all the announcements, I'm shocked at some of the acquisitions that I've seen this week.
Yeah.
Right. That's been surprising in its own right. The show has been fantastic. There's been some new products released. I'm more impressed with, I think, how, and we talked about this last year, I wanted to see more interoperability and actual integration between manufacturers, using more standards, less proprietary type information, and I think we're starting to see a lot of that come to fruition. So that's been impressive. I've been really happy with that. Even just, there are still some of our manufacturers who are very proprietary, but they're still starting to open up those conversations and talks with other people. And I think that's ultimately going to be good for the customers and the end users in the long run. So.
Yeah. Alicia, as a first timer here, what was your first reaction of stepping on the show floor of the RAI?
My first reaction was it was like a lot calmer than a grand opening at InfoComm. Right?
Really?
So I came into this show kind of comparing it to InfoComm because that's the biggest trade show that I've been to. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot more that I was looking for as far as enthusiasm, excitement, streamers falling from the ceiling, whatever it takes. But once it got going, I found it exciting. You had to hunt for those wow factors, in my opinion. When you first walk in, you're greeted with the big shiny things, and when you want to really check out what's new and innovative, you kind of had to go and search for those booths and find them in this maze of ISE. So it was interesting. I've had a good time though.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
We're changing around our camera shots here for those that aren't watching on video. We're overlooking Hall 2, and if you have been here in the past, the Hall 2 is one of the major ones. Our last shot, we're going to shoot over Hall 3. Alicia's right though. When you walk into this space, and also obviously also on the far end of the RAI, halls 13, 12, 11, and there's also a big projection system, including one on the outside of the building at 5 o'clock every day, the projection method, right? Something that has been evolved over the last couple of years. They did another one last year. When you look at this show and you compare it to InfoComm, what can you compare and contrast the two between what they're showing, the possibilities, right? The experience, to use the AVIXA phrase.
Right. Here, it's just a bunch of technology, not necessarily talking about that experience, right? And also, I came here particularly to meet a lot of people and create that experience personally. Yeah. So it was cool to come across the pond and see what the conversation is like. Maybe it's a cultural difference. This is my first time to Europe as well, so again, I had a good time, but I'm looking forward to InfoComm as well.
All right, very good. Jeremy, we're looking ahead. We've said this a couple times. We are on our way to Barcelona, basically, at this point. Look ahead as somebody who's been a volunteer with AVIXA, but also as an integrator who does go to these international shows. What are you looking forward to next year in 2021?
I want to see if the experience becomes more of a thing, like she talked about, right? We see a lot of really cool technology here, stuff that we sometimes don't even get to see at InfoComm. And it's great because companies like any integration companies like ours, it's our job to create that experience using this technology, obviously. So I'm intrigued to see what next year is going to bring as far as the new tech goes. As far as the location goes, obviously it'll be a little warmer, so that'll be nice. I don't know what the hall layouts are like. I know that at InfoComm you're used to Center Hall, North Hall, whatever it is. You got two enormous halls, and you can find those kind of outskirt, booths around the outer edges that have the cool new tech that are 5 years from, becoming the major trend. Here, that's a little harder. When you've got 15 halls of things to go see, you have to be a little bit more strategic about what you're going to look at. So I'm interested to see what the Barcelona layout looks like, to see if that kind of simplifies things a little bit from a perspective of anyone that's a first timer, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be very interesting as well. I talked to an integrator the other day, and he said, I'm still in Hall 5, which he's in Hall 5 here at the RAI, and in that conversation, it is slightly different, not quite like InfoComm in Vegas. There are a couple of different numbered halls, but there are, I think Zoe mentioned the fact, it's a little bit more laid out.
It's more like I hear it's more like an actual grid.
Yes, more of a grid system, as opposed to almost like an Amsterdam neighborhood with houses put together is kind of how I'd put the RAI. Alicia, as we wrap up here, what are you taking away from your first time?
What am I taking away? It's good to come and make these connections, even if ISE or this side of the world isn't your market. You never know where it's going to take you in this business, right? So it's good to come across borders, explore. There's a lot of manufacturers here that you won't see at InfoComm because that's not particularly their market. So it expands you to some things that you could possibly reach out to and bring home to your team, especially if you're an end user or integrator. So that's exciting from that point of view. And this was, I'm just glad to have the opportunity to come. Like I said, I've never been to Amsterdam, first and last ISE. So this was a great experience, and it's overall a good show, a good place to be. It's the biggest AV show in the world,
It's
so
the
why
biggest
not?
AV show in the world. Absolutely, why not? Jeremy, what are you taking back home to Peoria?
I've actually have found some cool new tech that I need to kind of evaluate a little bit that actually fits some really interesting niches that I'm working on right now. So that's kind of the cool thing about coming here. You do get some of that new technology that people who don't exhibit in the United States.
Right.
The challenge is going to become getting to source that equipment now that I want, because it does fill the need for something that I have. So it's going to be either sourcing that or finding someone who has a similar product or something like that. So
we have friends that work for distributors, so
And we do.
I'm just saying.
Yes, I know. And those are people I will be having conversations with over the next week.
I'm certain. I am certain. All right, Alicia, how do people get a hold of you if they are so inclined, ma'am?
At Smooth Factor on all the platforms, smoothfactor.com, everywhere. And also, if you've been keeping up throughout the show, you can go to Premier Mounts info, basically their Twitter, Instagram, and catch up on some stuff I was doing on the show for too.
Some very cool videos.
Thank you.
So I felt the one with you on the subway this morning. So yeah, that's every morning on the train.
Yeah, I
So.
wanted to capture a little bit of what we were doing outside of the show floor as well. So, again, great experience. Follow me at Smooth Factor, all across platforms.
All right, very good, Mr. Caldera.
You can get my blogs and everything else at iastechnology.net or my Twitter, which is Jeremy_Caldera.
All right, last part of our cover, our AV Week from ISE 2020. Because I haven't said this yet, happy Valentine's Day. It's the 14th, so happy Valentine's Day, Megan.
Happy Valentine's Day, Dad.
Megan Dutta from CN. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well. And the compadre and the guy that I couldn't get rid of at all this week, Mr. Matt Scott.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Great. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. It's awesome.
What?
It's awesome.
It is.
It is. So we are overlooking Hall 1 now.
Yes.
Which is really the one that we've been kind of overlooking all week.
Yes.
Really. So we've been kind of very, very blessed to get this space.
Yes,
Thanks to
thank
Mike
you,
Blackman.
ISE.
Thank Mike Blackman and ISE, Anna Vixen Cedia. Our friends over at Christie gave us the video wall that we were sitting in front of in actually all week, but also here at the first segment. Matt, I'll start with you. You're the one who ran around more than I did.
That's true.
On a bum leg, no less.
That is also true.
So what do you taken away from this year?
You know, it's an interesting question, and everyone you run into asks you pretty much the same thing. How did you feel? What's your impression? And like we've been saying for a couple of years, it's been incremental from a technology standpoint.
Yeah.
Everything is a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit better here, a little bit better there. And I think that one of the main conversations that I had about that was we keep making this move into kind of the IT world, right? Trying to take things from them. As far as we're seeing a lot more as a service, whether it's software or hardware, whatever, right? Again, that's an IT-centric thought process. That's what incremental advancement is. That's an IT process. They sell you a box and they upgrade the box and they upgrade the box and they upgrade the box. It's not this, hey, let's do something big and flashy. It's let's just keep making stuff better for you.
And a lot of times that's firmware, right? It's not even a completely new box.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Or software.
Upgrade that box.
Yeah.
It's not a new box, it's that exact box. You're getting new software, new hardware, new firmware, new features to it. And I think this is, again, kind of that watershed moment where our AV world that we've played in and loved for so long can just continue to get better down the road. And it's not going to be this groundbreaking, you know, like it was when we went 1080 to 4K.
Yeah.
We're still going to see some of those, but it's going to be incremental, and that's perfectly acceptable. That's A-okay. We like it. It's wrapping our heads around that because we were so used to big shiny box.
Yeah.
That's
Different
been
colors.
It's been my main takeaway.
Megan, something that's happened, honestly, probably the last 5 or 6 years, manufacturers have quietly dedicated to ship what they show at this show, and any show really. I don't think that any of them had made a big ginormous press announcement saying, we guarantee you that we're going to ship in 90 days or 60 days or whatever, but they've all kind of quietly amongst themselves said, you know what, this is probably a good idea. Mainly because integrators and press for the last 20 years have given them crap about vaporware, right? One of the things, though, is at Crestron's booth, who they did not get away from that, but they did have a section in the center where they weren't saying anything about ship. They were just saying this is possibly the future. And you went through that. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I really like that idea because you want to see kind of the concept car sometimes, and you want to see where the companies are going. So instead of just talking about what they're thinking about doing, you can see that they're actively working on it, but they won't give ship dates because they know it's coming. I still asked.
Yeah.
But you know, some of the stuff was working demos, so you know it's not going to be that far away.
Okay.
But some of the stuff wasn't, and so you know it'll be longer. You know, maybe 2 years for some of that stuff. But they had some neat future forward things, and it was interesting to see where they're going as a company.
All right, Matt, I want to get both of your perspective on this. There were a number of announcements this week, and I'm not going to pick on any one company because there were a couple that did this, of companies getting into new spaces where they haven't traditionally been, which suddenly puts them in direct competition with others, right? And Matt, as an integrator, you know this. You have a favorite amplifier, you have a favorite switcher, you have a favorite IT switch, and let's say you have a favorite speaker. 20 years ago, those were all made by different companies and probably all made by different corporations. Now, that can all be made by the same exact company. It can have the same screen print on it. Talk about it from an integrator standpoint. What are the good side and the bad side of that?
Well, the good side is the one that they're all touting, right? Is that all of a sudden you're simplifying your supply chain, you're hopefully simplifying your service chain, your support chain. You can go to manufacturer A and get 90% of what you need to complete any project, and again have a cohesive solution. The downside of that is, and again, I'm not picking on anyone particularly, or even saying that this is going to be accurate, but there's always that potential that you go to manufacturer A or manufacturer B and they have that complete solution, but what you really need to build the best experience and solution for your client is a little bit of both. And it's understanding and at times, dare I say, pushing back against that manufacturer who says, no, we need you to buy this full line, and say, well, it's not always the best solution. Sometimes it makes sense to take pieces from different manufacturers to make that product better. And I think it's going to be, a bit of a growing pain. We've seen this, as you said, over the last couple of years, where these manufacturers just keep expanding their footprint in the markets they play in and the products they supply. It will be that learning curve of how you apply that in your own business. And that's really what it comes down to, is your business, because you may be able to go and do that and just buy from a single supplier, be perfectly happy, and fit all of your clients.
Megan is somebody who covers this, and you used to work for a manufacturer as well. Some of this has been through, I'm going to say, pure innovation. In other words, they created these products from the ground up. Some of them have been mergers and acquisitions, right? Talk for a second about the differences between looking at and covering a company that said they homegrown this, right? Their R&D is what produced this product, opposed to somebody who is purchasing it, right? Purchased a company and then had to integrate it, like Matt said, back into their company.
Well, I think sometimes people feel more comfortable with someone that's literally all they focus on and do. And it's harder to integrate. I know there's a lot of, even just company cultures are different when you merge. Like Legrand has, not to pick on them, but they have so many brands now. It can be difficult to merge all those cultures into one. So sometimes people on the outside feel that change. But I also think there's a lot of partnerships that people are working on instead of creating competitive products. They're working together when their products are similar to create a full solution for an integrator.
One company, and again, this is not to highlight anybody, I talked with our buddy Simon Dudley, who works for Logitech. They had several announcements this week that were some of the normal players you would expect. They have one with Google, they have one with Team, they have one with Crestron. That one right there was huge from both companies. From both companies' camps, honestly.
We have an interview with that, an exclusive on AVNetwork.com.
Very cool. Yeah, I think it was huge.
Well, and that's a really good key, though, is you're seeing that we saw that between Sennheiser and Bose. And again, this is the
two sound companies
coming together to make a package that fits that solution. Again, just as we were talking, really, really well. And I think that's the double-edged sword of this is you have those manufacturers saying, hey, we make everything, buy it all from us. At the same time, recognizing that there are times when, in Crestron's case, adding Logitech into that is a natural and very, very effective fit. it's just a matter of, again, navigating what those relationships work or look like and how they suit your business and your clients. You know, at the end of the day, this is still about, you know, the end user, the client. And you've got to find the way, both from the integrator standpoint, the consultant standpoint, the manufacturer standpoint. You have to find the best possible way to provide that experience to that end user.
Megan, real quickly, we talked to Kevin McLaughlin about the Diversity Council meeting. Talked to you about the Women's Council, the Mixed Women's Council. You guys had a meeting and also a presentation this week. Whether it's here at ISE, which is important from an international standpoint, but also at InfoComm and others, the Chicago chapter, which is the closest one to me because I haven't gotten off my butt and started the St. Louis one. You guys have one the first week of March. How important are chapters like that and events like this at ISE, at InfoComm, to bring folks together?
I think it's a great way to not only bring people together for networking, but also to encourage diversity to attend these shows. You know, if they know there's a place for them, and they're not going to feel like I'm the only person of color, I'm going to be the only female there, and they can go meet other people like them, it's really going to help grow the show. And it also gives it visibility to everybody else.
All right. Matt, as we wrap up here.
No Canadian Council?
What?
No Canadian Council?
There's three of you.
No, I know there's a women one, but I was specific. There's diversity. There's women in AV. No.
You're on the international, international council.
Oh, okay. I didn't get an email about that one.
You got lost.
I should join that.
Ask you both this. All of us are heading to Barcelona next year.
Yes.
In 12 months. What are your thoughts as we leave Amsterdam? What are your thoughts as we get into Barcelona?
On one hand, I'm going to be sad to see Amsterdam go. This city's grown on me more than I thought it would. The mishmash of halls and the massive commutes hall to hall won't necessarily be disappointing, but we still don't know completely what we're going to get in Barcelona. I haven't been there yet, haven't taken a look at it. It's going to be entertaining. I'm looking forward to maybe not bringing my massive parka because I'm cold and a wimp at times. No gloves and scarves should be awesome, but it's one of those things. As much fun as trying to get out and see the city for a little bit is, we're here for business. I spend the majority of my time on the floor or sitting at a restaurant. The local scene matters, but it doesn't. I'm more excited to, see all the manufacturers, see all the people that we've come to know and become friends with.
Yeah.
And that's, no matter where it is, we'll still have that community. And that's, to me, that's the bigger driving factor.
Absolutely. Megan?
Can I just do a what he said?
Sure, absolutely.
There you go.
That's good.
What he said.
Take
Great.
it.
What he said.
All right, that'll work. Thank you both so much, Ms. Megan Dutta from SCN. How do people get a hold of you or SCN?
Can find me on Twitter at Megan A. Dutta and at SCN Mag.
All right, Mr. Scott.
Hey, you can find me on Twitter at MattDScott, and here at AVNation you'll find all of our videos as well as AVWeek, which I host as well, in addition to occasional guest spots on AVWeek when Tim lets me come and pontificate. Possibly.
Soon.
Potentially.
Maybe in March or April.
We'll see. I might even host it once or twice. Who knows?
Maybe in
Stay
March or
tuned.
April.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, for me, don't follow me on the Twitters. At this point, I'm talking about the Blues because football season's over and I don't like baseball.
It was over like second week for you.
I know. Bears fan. But for more importantly, Matt and a couple other people worked really hard on our website, so go check that out. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find programs like this and a host of others, including all of the work that Matt did and none of it that I did at ISE this week.
That's correct.
ISE 2020. Also check out our underwriter section. These are the folks who help us financially and support us, help us bring you AVWeek and Matt's Resi Week and coverage of ISE 2020, all that and more. I'd like to thank Mr. Matt Scott. I'd like to thank Tess, our shooter, and Mitchell, our ever patient editor, who has a roll of tape on me now that
he has jokes for days.
He does indeed.
We keep him highly. If you ever doubt the entertainment of our B-roll, one, you'll never see it, and two,
hopefully,
it's fantastic.
Like if he ever like ends up missing, we'll all see.
We'll know why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also
we'll have the B-roll.
Yeah.
So,
also, thank you to Christy and to all of our sponsors, to Bose and to Control 4. And to all of our friends in the industry. Megan's here. Behind the scenes here is Jimmy Caldera and Alicia Henley and Meg McKenna and Gina Sansevero, Mike Blackman and Dave Labuscus and Tabitha O'Connor from ISE and for Infocom and CDI. Honestly, it's been an interesting 5-year run for us here in Amsterdam. I am going to personally be sad to see us go. Looking forward to Barcelona. Looking forward to the next adventure, but really, really humbled after 5 years we're still doing this. So thank you all so much. Thank you much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.